there are three different types of audiences that your book discusses. The first audience discussed is the supportive audience. This is an audience that already agrees with you. They're already on your side. You're not going to have to do a whole lot of convincing for an audience that already believes the way that you want them to. So if you're writing for a supportive audience, you're not going to have to wow them with your use of a heavy logical or reasoned argument. You're not going to have to provide a lot of facts and figures to help win them over. But you are going to need the use of more of an emotional appeal. Because you may be asking, well, why am I even writing for an audience, a persuasive appeal to an audience that already agrees with me? Well, usually when you're writing a persuasive appeal for an audience that's already on your side, usually the real motive is to get them to act, to get them to do something. It's a call to action. Whether it's to recycle more or to get more exercise, whatever it may be, it's an attempt or an appeal to get them up and get them doing whatever it is you want them to do. That's why using a pathetic appeal or an appeal to emotions can help you with that call to action. It can help people get their emotions roused and get them psyched up to do whatever it is that you want them to do. The second type of audience is the wavering audience. And a wavering audience is kind of sitting on the fence. They haven't decided either way. They haven't really taken a position. And so you're going to have to use kind of a mixture of the three different appeals to get them off the fence. But you need to be careful because fence sitters can go either way. Using a highly logical and reasoned appeal is one of the best ways to go. Most people like to see facts and figures and statistical information. They like that appeal to their reason, their logic, their sensible side. You can use some pathos, although you want to be careful about your use or overuse of an appeal to emotions. Emotions are good, but when people feel that their emotions are being toyed with, they can feel manipulated. So be careful that you don't make your audience feel manipulated by making a too heavy-handed appeal to emotions, because you could push them the other way. You could push them on the other side of the fence that they're sitting on. And you also want to make sure that you make a good ethical appeal and show your credibility as an author, that you're someone who can be listened to and that you know what it is you're discussing. So for the number 2 audience, the wavering audience, go heavy on the logos and the ethos and use a more gentle hand with the pathos. Now the third type of audience is the hostile audience. The hostile audience is on the other side. They're not with you, and they're either skeptical or they're outright hostile, or sometimes they just don't even care. Sometimes that's the hardest audience to really appeal to. But the hostile audience, sometimes you're just never going to win some people over. That's just how it is. But sometimes a victory can be considered if you just get people to listen to you. Sometimes that can be considered a victory. Sometimes that may be all you can hope for with a truly hostile audience. You may win them over, but if you don't, sometimes just getting them to listen to you can be considered, a minor victory in itself. Now, as you're preparing your argument, you need to make sure that you gather strong support for your argument. Now, we're using outside support, we're using outside resources for this essay. So typically you want to go for a variety of sources. or a variety of types of support. So you may want to use quite a bit of the hard data, like the facts and figures, the statistics, the numbers data. You could also intersperse that with some personal experience support. You can also use the expert opinion. So you generally want to use different kinds of evidence. And also, as you're gathering your evidence and you're doing your research, if you come across evidence that supports the opposition, do not ignore it. Because for this argument essay, you are going to be not only discussing your side of the picture or your side of the argument, you are going to be thinking about the oppositional side as well. So you're going to have to discuss what the major points are of the oppositional argument. So this is kind of a little more complicated than anything that we've done so far, because you're looking at two sides of an argument. Now, you definitely need to pick one side. This is not one of those things where you give both sides and then let your audience decide. It needs to be obvious that which side you are on. So near the beginning of your essay, generally you want to give your position. Now later in the essay, you're going to discuss the oppositional opinion, the oppositional viewpoints, the oppositional tenets as well. So when you're doing your research, you're going to have to look at both the support for your side of the argument, and you're also going to have to research what are the points of the opposition as well. So you're going to have to kind of do double duty here on your research. So make sure that you do properly document all of the outside research that you do. Also, since we're trying to persuade people to take our opinion, we want to do what's called creating goodwill. That means trying to warm up your audience. You do that by not alienating your readers, by avoiding name calling. You don't want to do anything that's going to anger or antagonize your audience. You want to do what's called bridge building. So you start off with trying to find something that's called that both of you have in common. That's called common ground. So things that both sides can agree on. So you need to find a way to find that common ground and start there, because people will be more likely to open up and to listen, at least listen to your side of the opinion, if they don't feel like you're attacking them, and if you can point out things that you do share in common. So that's called common ground, goodwill, bridge building. And then think about ways that you can organize your evidence, and you can kind of organize your argument in various ways. You can use any of the essay types that we've used so far, and you can use description, narration, process, compare, contrast. You can use them in combination with one another as well. So kind of think about what would be the most logical way to organize this argument. But also think about leaving your most compelling points for last. Your most compelling point last, with your second most compelling point first. Because remember, your audience remembers most the things that they read last. So save those compelling points for the very last. So leave them with something to really chew on.